So he will be actually telling us about subretinal pathology, and subretinal pathology is not only to be handled by after a lot of gaining lot of experience, but you have to start someday, and so why not start now? So Dr. Boral, please.
So, very good morning. So, thank you, Dr. Devdulal, for inviting us in your IC. Slide, please. Yes. So, managing subretinal pathology safely, basically when some pathological, like any mass or any media haziness, anything is there in front of the retina, it is very easy to tackle. But when it is just subretinal, you have to do as little as possible to avoid undue further complications. Like these are the pathologies that you often need some kind of surgical intervention like subretinal hemorrhage, subretinal scar, subretinal PFCL, subretinal bands in chronic complicated retinal detachments, and subretinal cysticercosis. So subretinal hemorrhage, it is often we have to manage so promptly and so urgently for the prognostic point of view. Subretinal scar, often we are just leaving it as such, not removing the scar material from the macular area. And subretinal PFCL, if it is like within the macular area, it is threatening the fovea, you have to remove it. Subretinal bands, it depends. Dr. Rupak has already showcased his videos that subretinal bands has to be removed in chronic complicated RDS if it is causing undue traction or tainting of the retina. And subretinal cysticercosis, obviously, if it is whether it is live or dead, you have to remove it. So now I'm coming to the submacular hematomas cases. Like this is the simplest technique. It is after doing vitrectomy, if you are intervening and there is large submacular significant hemorrhage, so you have to remove, you have to be like remove it. So, but removal of subretinal hemorrhage from this macular area sometimes it's very difficult. So our minimalistic approach is after doing vitrectomy, you have to give cocktail of subretinal TPA, anti-VEGF and air. So after giving subretinal TPA, the plot lysis occurs and the blood color changes like this. You can see the black colored blood, little bit dark colored blood. Now it is quite light colored blood. So just after giving subretinal TPA injection, blood color will change after 10 to 15 minutes like this. And there will be, due to the gravity, the RBC will settle down. And if you are giving subretinal air in this sense, the air will displace this RBC lysed blood inferiorly due to its gravity situation. So this is the logic of giving the subretinal cocktail of and anti-VEGF obviously directly act on the CNVM where the target tissue is. So subretinal, this is both combination of sub-RP and sub-neurosensing retinal hemorrhage. So preoperatively vision was counting close to face. I started doing vitrectomy, and after triamcinolone PVD induction, with the help of 38 gauge and non-metallic cannula, I'm giving subretinal TPA first, and as well as some amount of RTPA, sub-RP also. Basically, there won't be much difference if you are giving sub-RP also and retinal TPA. And just see the change of color. Now I'm giving subretinal anti-VEGF along with air. The air will, when the patient will maintain the propped up position, the air will move up and the light product will go down. At the end of the surgery, you can just maintain the patient position, first initially propped up, followed by prone position. And postoperatively, you'll see this kind of beautiful picture with good improvement in vision. So it is another situation where the bleeding was more extensive, and I am giving the subretinal TPA with the help of metallic 41 gauge needle, and doing some kind of retinotomy here in the paramacular retinotomy into the supratemporal quadrant. I can see the lysed blood is coming out. So you have to remove blood as much as possible, if possible, one or two retinotomy, either on the diagonally opposite quadrant or the opposite retina is relatively healthier. You can make the another area extramacular retinotomy, but and you can see after doing fluid exchange, just inject subretinal, not subretinal, intravitreal anti-VEGF injection at the surgery. You can inject oil also. So you just slowly visual will improve after 3 months. After removal of silicone oil, patient gain good vision, and there was absolutely lack of retinal hematomas. So this is another tricky situation, that is subretinal PFCL. So how to manage this subretinal PFCL? So if you see the subretinal PFCL, I will differentiate in OCT. Actually, this angle is called angle kappa. So if the angle is obtuse, that is more than 90 degree, so this is actually, I'm just sorry. When this bubble is making, and sorry, when this bubble is making some kind of angle with this line, you can see it here, you can see it here. I don't have the pointer. You can see the angle is more than 90 degree in subretinal PFCL case, but it should be in acute angle when the subretinal serous fluid is present. So this is how we have to differentiate whether it is subretinal PFCL or subretinal fluid. This is called angle kappa. The slide is not moving. Slide is not moving. Okay, now.
Micro VFC, a simple indigenous new tool to access subretinal space in a controlled way. VFC, that is viscous. Micro VFC, a simple indigenous new tool to access subretinal space in a controlled way. VFC, that is viscous fluid control, is commonly used in vitreoretinal surgery to inject silicone oil within vitreous cavity or to extract it in a faster way. We developed a simple indigenous modified VFC to gain access to subretinal space in a controlled way. We have removed the plunger, cut the rubber cap of the plunger of a 1 ml syringe. This cut rubber cap was fitted inside an empty 1 ml tuberculin syringe. Its end was fitted with the tubings of VFC of vitrectomy machine. Now VFC mode was activated. Attaching an either 38 gauge or 41 gauge subretinal needle to the syringe to extract the retained submacular PFCL bubbles or to deliver precise dose of subretinal drugs like RTPA for subretinal hematoma in a controlled way. Here the cut rubber tip of the plunger can move smoothly within the 1 ml syringe during injection or extraction mode of the VFC attached with the vitrectomy machine. We named it Micro VFC. Firstly, the practical application for extracting the subretinal retained PFCL bubbles. Here it's a case of status post vitreoretinal surgery with a retained subfoveal PFCL bubble with best corrected visual acuity 2200. I used our Micro VFC using metallic tip 41 gauge cannula in this case. After extracting the silicone oil, I went ahead with this Micro VFC. I directly pierced the fovea with the metallic tip and made the extraction mode on with around 300 to 400 psi to aspirate out the PFCL droplet. Fluid air exchange was completed. Post-op best corrected visual acuity was 20/80 with complete absence of subfoveal PFCL bubble but with a small tag at the point of entry on OCT. In our second case, post-surgery for giant retinal tear, there was a large bubble of submacular PFCL threatening fovea with best corrected visual acuity 20/60. After removing silicone oil, I used this Micro VFC with 41 gauge metallic tip cannula to remove the submacular PFCL bubble. Using viscous fluid extraction mode with 400 psi extraction pressure, PFCL bubble was extracted completely. Post-operatively best corrected visual acuity improved to 20/40 with complete absence of submacular PFCL bubble. I also use this Micro VFC for delivering drugs in subretinal space. Like in this case of post-PCV massive submacular hemorrhage with best corrected visual acuity, hand movement close to face, PR accurate, I did vitrectomy with complete removal of posterior hyaloid face. Here I used our VFC with 38 gauge non-metallic cannula for injecting recombinant tissue plasminogen activators 0.05 cc, that is 50 microgram, directly into the subretinal space through a mostly elevated area just outside the macula for clot lysis. The subretinal injection of RTPA was completed in a very controlled way. Again, I have used combination of anti-VEGF ranibizumab injection 0.05 ml and filtered air 0.03 cc and injected slowly in subretinal space outside the macula. Then I completed fluid air exchange and used sulfur hexafluoride gas tamponade. After 3 weeks, best corrected visual acuity improved to 20/120, significant reduction of submacular hemorrhage with
Dark delivery. So this is another cases Dr. Rupak has already showcased is removal of the subretinal PVR changes and subretinal bands. Like in this also a case of very old RD, complicated RD, multiple subretinal bands were there. So in this situation, that bands is directly going through the macula. So I've made one just just at the side of the subretinal band. You have to make the opening here and remove the subretinal band. And here I am removing it bimanually, and it was quite very thick, and it was adhered to the overlying retina. So you have to be little bit careful to remove the at least macular subretinal band. Otherwise, it will cause stenting at the macular area. So this is one technique. Another is if the already the break is inferiorly, and you can see the very large taut retina inferiorly, you have to make large relaxing retinectomy, and directly through this retinectomy area you can go subretinally and judge your subretinal sheet of membrane. Here sometimes it is present as a band, or sometimes it is as a whole sheet of membrane. So multiple layers subretinal this sheet of membrane or bands, it can be removed with a single go. And many times this kind of in this case of GRT also, you can see the along with the inferior arcade, the band is going, it is causing traction, a lot of traction, so you have to remove it under Chandler's light. Often you have to remove it bimanually. So these are the things you have to be very careful. Like another situation is subretinal cystosarcosis, where actually cystosarcosis, it is the actually ingestion of eggs of Taenia solium. It can cause and reach the subretinal space through the posterior ciliary artery and the choroid. It can be live or dead, and a lot of other investigation, eosinophilia, ELISA,
Shubhendu, we'll have to.
yes, I'm just ending it. CT brain and MRI is required. And the safest way to remove this subretinal cyst is just beside the cyst, you have to make a small retinotomy. Slowly you can remove from the subretinal space, and finally end the case with the gas tamponade. Thank you.